Here's a question that's worth pondering. Can PUBG be truly great again? I mean, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is arguably one of the greatest video games ever created. It still holds the record for the most concurrent players on Steam, with back in 2018 over 3 million people were playing PUBG at the same time. Not in the same match, but they all had it fired up on Steam, which is quite amazing. And since its release on console, first Xbox and then PlayStation, and we had the halcyon days, I must have put in over 1,000 hours on Xbox and probably 300 to 400 hours on PlayStation. We've kind of had this steady decline of PUBG to the point where now I only really pick it up and play it if I've got some footage I need to make for a video, or maybe there's been a new patch out or something like that. It wouldn't be my game of choice to play to have a good time. And that's a really sad thing, because I used to play it solo, or I used to play it with friends, with squads. I used to play it with random squads, random duos, that sort of thing. So how could it become great again? And I think in order to do that, we have to realise that for multiplayer shooters, if the mechanics are good, so if the way that the game works is good, whether it's fun to play is often down to the player count. And with PUBG, we know that the game mechanics are better than they've ever been. Especially on console, it plays incredibly smoothly. If you're playing it on a new Xbox Series S or Series X, it fires along at 60 frames a second. It looks like you're playing it on a high-end gaming PC. The guns feel great. The recoil is good. The gunplay has always been a high point, hasn't it, for PUBG? But the problem with multiplayer shooters, and they all have this problem, is that as its lifetime extends, naturally the player base at some point starts to drop off, because people get to a point where they want to try new things, or they get bored with the game, or decisions are made by the developers or the publishers of the game that make it less attractive, and you get less people playing it, which means that the people who are left playing it tend to be really good at the game or better, and so the average skill of the people playing the game constantly sort of goes up. And so if you're a casual gamer coming back to something like PUBG, it's very, very difficult. Whereas before you could just play quite a few games, and the randomness, the RNG of the battle royale genre would mean that you would probably get a win every now and again. Now it becomes a lot more difficult, because you've got veterans who have been playing for sort of 3 years, who really know what they're doing, and the time to kill has always been very short in PUBG. You can get killed with one shot to the head, but when you're in a situation where people can really auto fire using sort of 3 times and 4 times scopes from long distances, some of the fun starts to get out of the game. The skill gap, if you like, becomes too large between the casual players and the players who play it all the time. So how do you sort that out? Well, quite simply, you have to get more people playing the game. You have to get people back in to the game, and that then rounds out the bell curve, so you have a wider skill range, which means that the randomness can start to come in again, so people can start to get into the top 10s and start to get those chicken dinners when you're not a top tier player. So what have PUBG got to do then? How could they do it? Well, I think it's important to remember that it can be done, because if you look at a game like Call of Duty, that has a new title every year, that has definitely gone through some ups and downs and ups over the last several years. You could argue, with like the start of the Modern Warfare era and the Black Ops era of Call of Duty were high points, and then you had things like Ghosts came along, which wasn't received very well, and then the franchise decided to get into like jetpacks and boosting, so you then had Advanced Warfare, which wasn't received very well, and then after that you had like Black Ops 3, which again had boosting again and wall running, which people didn't particularly like. Then you had Infinite Warfare, which lots of people really, really didn't like, and then you had COD World War 2, which was seen as an improvement, but the map's too small. And then you had Black Ops 4, which took away the boost jumping, but we still had wall running, and it didn't have a story. So, COD was kind of quite a low point. I mean, it still sold millions of copies, but it wasn't anywhere near the heights it had been before. And then Modern Warfare 2019 came along, which kind of took COD back to its roots, back to boots on the ground, gunplay. They introduced a battle royale as well with Warzone, which was good enough to take on the likes of Apex and Fortnite and PUBG, and it was an eminently playable and fun game to play, which kept a large user base for a long time, over its year life cycle. Even now, people still play it. A lot of people still play it, and so it was fun to play. And the way that happens with games like Call of Duty is you have a change of vision at the top. The game has different studios every year that do it, that cycle through, but also you get changes in artistic directors and creative directors. And I think that's what we need to remember about PUBG. I mean, we may well get PUBG 2, but even if PUBG gets a decent person in charge again that understands the core principles of the game, the things that make PUBG what PUBG is, then it can definitely be great again. What's been interesting recently, over the last few days as I'm recording this video, is that Brendan Green, Player Unknown himself, has deleted, I think, all of his social media stuff. So that would maybe indicate that he is now free of PUBG Corp, and he's out on his own, maybe. So we might start to see some feedback from him about what happened, because he left as creative director quite a long time ago from PUBG itself, and went to a PUBG studio in Holland, I think it was, to work on a new title. Also, with the last update, PUBG took PlayerUnknown's name from the top of the title of the game. So PUBG, it used to say on the title screen, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. It doesn't say that anymore. It says PUBG Battlegrounds, which is a bit stupid because it means it's PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. So, we've had that change. So maybe PUBG will get great again by Brendan Green coming away and making a new battle royale that concentrates on the things that make PUBG great. So what are those things? What could a new creative director do for PUBG 2, or a new battle royale? Well, we want to keep it in the boots on the ground. We want that feeling of PUBG. We want a nice smooth game engine, don't we, that works. I think the mistakes that PUBG have made over the last few years has been to do with far too many maps, and too much splitting of the player base. So when we have the core maps of, you've got Erangel, Miramar, Sanhok, Vikendi, there's Tago, the new one. Did I say Karakin? There's too many maps, and then you've got them split between first person and third person, squads, duos, solos, and then you've got ranked mode as well. So this is separating everybody out, so everybody's queue times for these games becomes too long, which meant they had to throw bots in, which also means you have to get rid of certain modes as well. So you've got to say, actually, we're not going to have first person solos, we're not going to have first person squads, we're only going to have third person. And long queue times are a killer for a game, because if you've got to wait 5 minutes in between every time you play a game, and you've got a limited gameplay time, then you want something that gets you back into the action faster, and they never really addressed that at PUBG. I can remember when Fortnite came out, and we were playing Fortnite on the PlayStation because we had no battle royale, and to start off with, the lobbies were about a minute and a half, similar to PUBG sort of load times, and all of a sudden they did an update and the lobby time was down to like 20 seconds, and you would jump in, you would be in the battle bus, and you'd be jumping down onto the island in no time at all. That's what PUBG needed to do. So as far as I'm concerned, I think what PUBG should do is it should really work on reducing queues. So I think they should go back to a system where you have Erangel as the featured map, and Erangel should always be the featured map, and then you can have the other maps in rotation in a separate queue. Get rid of rank mode, so you put everybody else back together. I would probably, this might rankle some people, but I would probably consider getting rid of first person mode and just have third person mode. I know that they use first person in competitions and things, but PUBG was designed as a third person mode game. It always looks a bit odd when you're first person, you're too short and stuff like that. And just work on speeding the game up that way, so that when I want to play PUBG, I can fire it up and I can jump into a lobby and I can be flying down on Erangel in a matter of minutes. Because there's so many great things about the game now. Say just on Erangel, you've got like the little gliders, the motorised gliders that you can use, that you can fly around with, that are fantastic. And they just need to do that, I think, just to get people coming back to the game in numbers. And I guess the ultimate thing is give it away for free. Make it a free-to-play game on console. You know, you've got the Battle Pass, you've got the Season Pass to pay for things. You've more than made up back your money for your development costs on this game. Make it free-to-play. And there we go. So that's what I would do. Go with Erangel as your featured map. The other maps in rotation. Maybe get rid of a couple of them every now and again so there's not too many. And really consolidate those queues so that everybody's in together, so those queue times go down and we can have a better experience that way. So what do you think? Can PUBG be great again? Can the right person at the helm make PUBG or PUBG 2 what we want it to be? Or will it take another developer, maybe even Brendan Green himself, coming back and creating a new battle royale that will all get us playing what was once my favourite game? Well, it still is one of my favourite games all the time, but it's just not something I play that much anymore. Right, well, thank you very much for watching. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want to see more of the same, and I'll see you again soon.